Venerable Bhante, sisters and brothers, Dhamma friends. Today also we are going to take time for the settle down for the talk and give the consent with 3 times sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Katame tayo dhamma parinyaya tisso vedanati. Dear Bhante, Dhamma friends, yesterday we started or gave the introduction to the feelings with the quotation of Venerable Maha from the particular discourse known as Dasuttara Sutta, when and where we give full-time attention to our meditation goal or towards a correct view. There are 3 things Venerable Sariputta recommending us to be aware thoroughly. 3 things that one must be aware, one must know thoroughly. Namely, the 3 kinds of feelings. Yesterday, we just tried to understand the difference between the materiality and mentality, whereby materiality is represented by our corporeal body, the tangible thing, and that can be divided into many different parts, each and every part representing this materiality. Many ways you can do. Once that materiality is being discerned, once materiality is comprehended, then only the meditator's mind or meditator's mindfulness or concentration qualified to go into immaterial things. That is why the Buddha, in presenting the Mahasatipatthana Sutta, first and foremost ask one to be mindful on one's own body. In Pali is called Kaye Kayanupassvi Viharati. Pay attention to your body, the corporeality of the body as the stepping stone to the mindfulness. So that is how we are also organizing a retreat like this. At the beginning, we take the corporeality, the materiality, which can be verified because it is tangible. And with that kind of a practical, pragmatic end, once you gives introduction to the mindfulness, if anything goes wrong, we can come back to your materiality and verify whether this whether this mindfulness you are developing is something just mind-made or something verifiable. So therefore we take materiality as the pivotal point. We take the materiality as the benchmark or assembly ground. We call in Pali nimitta or kammatthana, and that is what we do in our early days in the retreat as a beginner. So when one to say that I have certain amount of, or thorough amount of, thorough amount of understanding, as far as the materiality is concerned, the Buddha said there are 11 facets you have to be aware. Once all these facets of the materiality is concerned, is aware, is discerned, then you can say you are mindful on your body. And the same thing you can apply to the immaterial thing, starting from feelings, Vedana, the 11 facets. I have not seen any comparison between these 11 facets, what the quantum physicists are talking, as well as these 11 facets the Buddha is talking, and what anyway, it comes to the same number. The Buddha says, when and where your mindfulness is thorough with the body, you must have understanding, not merely theoretical understanding, practical understanding about the 11 facets of the materiality. Then with the same understanding, pragmatic knowledge, you can go to feelings, and then you can apply the same knowledge, same experience towards the feeling. So I thought to go a little deep into the these aspect of 11 facets, with compared with materiality as well as with the feeling. Feeling-wise, the Vedana-wise, this you find in the Anattalakkana Sutta, Tasmatiya Bhikkhave Yakaja Vedana, therefore, O monks, whatever may be the Vedana belongs to past, future and the present. These are the first three facets you can apply to the materiality or mentality. If I am to take first the materiality, whereby we have certain amount of experience, whenever we appoint our bodily posture as the primary object or stepping stone towards mindfulness, you can be aware of your body in the present moment. That is what you find in the early part of Satipatthana Sutta, Aranyagatowa, Rukkhamulagatowa, Sunyāgāragatowa, Nishīdati Pallankang Abhujitva. You enter into a forest, or sit under a tree, or go to a place like this, devoid of sensuous pleasure, and sit comfortably and make a mental note of the present posture. That's the here and now experience of the body. This is called abhujitva, abhoga. Abhoga means you take a mental note of the display of the present sitting posture. That is what you are going to take as the benchmark. Whenever mind is going to other places, other people, past and future, you shall compare it with the present mode and understand whether you are really mindful here or you are wandering, daydreaming, fantasizing. As far as the space is concerned, as far as the time aspect is concerned, instead of being here and now, you can be worrying about your body which was in the past. For example, something you have done wrong. So whenever you are not mindful here and now, instead you are coming to a secluded place and still thinking, or daydreaming, or fantasizing, or worrying about the past, and there you can understand everything worrying you whenever your body is there. If your body is, you are not there, whatever happens in the rest of the world, you are not worrying about. It is not relevant to you. So you take your body as the pivotal point, and where was it, and what are the things happened related to your body, and anything goes wrong, you regret. Anything come correct, you feel happy even now. So, if you are, for example, if you are not a religious person, you are just keep on entertaining sensuous pleasure, and whenever something goes wrong, that goes into your memory, And when you are sitting in meditation cushion, instead of being here and now, you may be thinking about the past. And then the Buddha himself says, whenever you go back towards the past, majority of your mood will be a regret, disappointment. So, when compared to the present, here and now, feeling of your sitting posture, and compare it with the past events, one thing is you are not mindful, second thing is you are in the past, third thing is you are worrying, regretful, and disappointed. So there are a number of criteria for you to check whether you are meditating or not. If the mind is associating the past body, then you can say you are not here and now. Then you can say the past, not the present, and the regret. When compared to the present, here and now, you know you are not dead, you are not sleeping, you are not unmindful, unconscious, you know verily you are mindful, and the mind never goes to the regret. Present moment is not regrettable. And there is a reason, there is a way verifiable that you are in the present moment. So this comparison comes under the inferential knowledge, it comes under deductive knowledge, and there is a kind of a healthy corrective kind of measures, and even the mind goes to the past body, you can make it sure you are not here, they discern. You can delimit it, not in the present, but there are some patterns whenever it is in the past. That is the regret. And if you are a religious person, your religion will say you to conduct random act of kindness, generosity, helping others. Whatever it may be, that also goes into your memory. And while you are in a sitting posture, in a meditation cushion, on the top of the meditation cushion, still you may be thinking about, or it may be just happening, you to remember the past action from random acts of kindness, and there the pleasure can happen. So coming all the way here and taking a solitude, silent moment, and thinking about the past and becoming happy about your good deeds you are doing, is it a good thing or bad thing? Is it a progress in your meditation or not? There, Venerable Maha Sayadaw, taking this event, he says, as far as the skillfulness of your present moment is concerned, thinking about the past and be happy about your generous action and the random act of kindness is inferior to the skillfulness you are earning by just be mindful of the present moment. That may not be easier to digest. It is not maybe palatable if you are a moralist. But if you are a person with radical reflection and ready for your insight meditation, you have to understand being here and now without entertaining or without thinking about the past or without appreciation of the past. If you can bring the mind back to the present moment, that is much appreciated. That is why you have to understand there is a mode in the mind with respect to your body. That is what you call the present mode as well as the past mode. Two facets. So make sure we are learning and we are going to put that into our deductive thinking. Being in the present moment is the more skillful thing. Instead, that can associate past, maybe good thing or bad thing. Whatever it may be, it is inferior as far as the skillfulness is concerned when compared to the present. mindful moment. Here now I am. When compared to that, you can go future. For future planning, daydreaming, fantasizing, doing this and that. Because whenever you come and sit on your cushion, mind is fairly free. So therefore it is future projections often happen, and sociologically it says for the younger generation. Further it says, may be wrong, before age 50, you are living in future. After 50, you are living in past. And that is the way it is happening. So therefore, that possible even for the young, elderly people, that mind projections can go in future. And there you can see exciting mind. Frills and thrills. Hilarious that I did something wrong, in future I will not do it like that. I will do this and that, and all kind of fantasizing can happen. That indicates you are no more here. So whenever you sit in your initial, once you prepare your posture and be aware that I am here now, I am sitting, and get the configuration of the present moment, we can compare that present moment with this future planning. And there, you are no more in the present, your mind is excited, and you can easily say it is not in the future, past, but in the future. So, three aspects. Be here now, here and now, mindful here and now, or you can be thinking actively or passively about the past, or actively or passively in the future. These three are the time dimension. And then space-wise, you can be in, out. Sometimes the mind is within the body. So safely we can say, now I am in, within, here, now I am. And being sitting here, your body, but mentally you are at home, or with your, at the office, or in a shop, whatever it may be, thinking about other places. So is that verifiable? Be here and now, not being here, now I am thinking something outside. That is also you have to discern, you have to very clearly understand, then only you can say that projections can happen in versus out. Whenever you are in, you can feel the metabolic actions, whatever happening in the body, to make that process clear. The simple advice is don't think, don't have volitional activities, don't do any willful thing, don't do conscious thing, let the body to be and be aware. That is being called as just being. It is not a science, it is an art. But the mind is very crafty. It's a mad monkey mind jumping outside because after a while you may understand being inside and being within yourself is kind of a limited subject. Easily it can feel bored. You may feel monotonous. You might feel, mind feel like caged. So it's happy to jump out. And at home, imagine so much of things. You can see, you can hear, you can smell, you can taste, you can have different beddings and chairs and everything. Different disposure, different postures and mental thinking. When you come to a meditation center, you find the things you can see is almost related to the forest, or under a tree, or live in a secluded place like this, same thing. And whenever it comes to the here and now, your experience in, within, is becoming limited, like a wild buffalo taken from the wilderness and taken into the village and tied into a hard-driven peg with a very strong rope. So your mind feels caged. So therefore, a natural tendency is to jump out. And that is why scientific developments are so profound, so diversified, so prolific, because it's outwardly. Whole science is outwardly. So if you are a scientist, what you have to do is use the same technique inward. It is called insight, or we call insight meditation. And some scientists argue if the trip is inside, there may be an end. But if it is to the outside, no end. If you go to the outside the orbit, to the galaxies, no end. You can go further and further and further, no end. But inside may be end. So all these a caged kind of a situation, and a trip with an end may be a something mind, the untrained mind is not happy. But anyway, the Buddha is asking us, the meditators, be aware what is the difference between the mind outside and inside. And more you practice, you may understand your own criterion to see whether mind is in or out. Of course, it is happening in the present moment, happening regarding you. But in and out difference you have to understand. And further away and close by. There's another way. While you are meditating, for example, when you are breathing, for example, as your primary object, sometimes you feel breath is just at up of your lip, upper lip, or at the end of the nostril. That is the rational place. And sometimes it appears happening far away. Maybe few feet away, or few meters, few miles away like. That's also possible. Even the very breath, you feel like far away. Sometimes it is going into the center of your brain, like. That kind of a disposition can take place. So all these you must be aware that is the possible facets of the mind as far as the space is concerned. So this is the way I interpret. You may find a lot of other ways and means whenever the mind is changing its disposition. It go in, out, far and near. And two other methods, two other couplets is gross and subtle. Your body, if you take as your primary object, or if you go refine it further into the breath, it may appear sometimes very gross, very heavy, very rough. Or as and when time passes, it can be very subtle or medium, very soft. So likewise, the grossness and subtlety can change. The beginners, if I am to say with due precaution, are happy with the gross breath. And the body also, whenever they feel the heavily placing upon the cushion, they can easily understand sometimes heat, sometimes pressure points, sometimes weight, the gross things happen. Because their mind is not so refined, only they can discern gross things. But if you are aware, the gross can be replaced by subtlety. One day, your breath may appear not so gross, but medium, and the body also appear somewhat light, and the pressure points are not so inflicting. So don't misunderstand thinking that your mindfulness is weak, or concentration is weak, or your attention is weak. The object itself can appear gross and subtle. Or if you need, you can put a medium also. So when it becomes subtler and subtler and subtler, if you give up it and going to go for another object, or otherwise if you are going to do forced breathing, as to check whether breath is there, or you are going to move your body and see whether the body is intact, that indicates mind become bewildered. Mind become uncertain when the gross becomes subtle, or sometimes the subtle can become gross. Whenever the breath becomes very subtle and unperceivable like, all of a sudden when a sound happens and if you get a jerk, again the gross breath can appear. So, grossness and subtle is reciprocal each other. One can give into the other. So if you go prepared, you are not worrying much about the starting facet of your breath or your bodily sensation. It can be changed from gross to subtle, subtle to gross. And yet another couplet is, whenever these modes are happening, replace one by the other, you have likings and dislikings. This mode is better than the other. Gross mode is better than the subtle mode. Or some other people would say, the subtle mode is better than the gross. So your value judgment regarding the feelings, hedonic idea, also playing here. In Pali it's called hina panita. So when and where you are observing the breath as an object, as a primary object, or maybe you are considering the whole body as your starting point, these all the facets can happen: past form, present form, future form. In form, out form. Gross form, subtle form. And desirable form and undesirable form. This is how it is happening. So when and where you are mastered, seasoned, and thorough with this, all the facets, then you can say, I am aware, I can claim, I know in breath and out breath. I know my body. But if you have no direct experience of it, and how the mind is meddling with this kind of 11 facets, you may be happy with 5, and you may be not happy with 6. That's the average mind, unmeditated mind. So when and where mindfulness comes into being, you give a choiceless awareness and see possible 11 facets. So this is a kind of a radical approach to your meditation. So these are the basic qualities you need before jumping to feelings. But the feelings itself, just like materiality, have these 11 facets. But they are very tricky, very subtle, because they are immaterial, very difficult to verify. That is why you start with the materiality, and with respect to materiality, you try to understand all the facets. And when you are writing your interview reports, your questions basically related to the facets you have seen, but you have some dislike. You have some reaction. So then you ask, why this happened? Why the gross breath becomes subtle? Why the in-breath go out and further away? Why I am meditating, mind jump into the past? Why mind is jump into the future? Why something appear desirable? Why something appear indesirable? The undesirable. So likewise our mind does that filtering of the information. It's a habitual disposition, or your cultural upbringing, or your personality traits, or your liking and disliking, which is introduced to yourself, or is it intrinsic? It's a very big question. Don't worry about at the beginning. You are questioning because of lack of information. Therefore it says, keep on practice as a feasibility study, accumulate more information without judging, without rushing to a judge. So you must have equally suspended attention, all the facets, 11 facets, and suspend your decision. Don't rush telling it is an indication toward the progress or an indication to the regress. Whatever it may be, that indicates you are not enough with the experience and you have enough time. Keep on practicing. While practicing, your judgment, your decision, you will postpone and be patient to accumulate more and more information. So that is the maturity. That is the way you are preparing for the feelings, which is immaterial thing. So if you are daily going to start your meditation, for example, sitting meditation, maybe walking also, as a beginner, you give a new chance, a fresh approach to your posture. You sit comfortably, make yourself comfortable, and starting point, the starting balance, you be aware that now I am sitting. I am symmetrical, make it symmetrical, and relax. That is your loving kindness to your sitting posture, and try to be with it. Be aware as much as possible, and to stimulate, to give a helping hand. The day you understand the sitting posture and appreciate and try to be low with sitting posture, you are nearing Nibbana. You are nearing the full enlightenment. Because the enlightenment is within the body. So therefore one person put it in this way, body is already enlightened. So if you can be with the body, you are enlightened. The whole effort is you to keep the mind happily with the present moment, keeping the body as the pivotal point, or body as the reference point. And you can see further and further, you hate your body so much, unless otherwise the Buddha come and tell you, even if you live 100 years on the earth, by your own will, you will never be here and now. You will never understand, you never appreciate the present moment, here and now. So writing the book, The Power of Mindfulness, Venerable Jnanaponika, a German monk, who founded the Buddhist Publication Society, very famous, and he says, it is the greatest task of the Buddha to remind the people, those who are concerned about one's own well-being, to be here and now. Unless otherwise the Buddha come and let you know, ask you, you will never by your own initiative it happens. So all what we talked so far is to facilitate it, to give ways and means. They are not comprehensive, they are not complete, but they give some hints for you to understand with your initial mistakes, initial patience, initial trial and error. You are accumulating so much of information. They are first-hand information, and that we start with the materiality, and then we apply the same to the feelings or immaterial thing. There are 11 facets in the feelings also. So if you are to claim that I know feelings, you must know 11 facets, and you must be patient to appreciate them whenever it happens, without preconceived idea, without reaction, without judgmental values, what are the three things as far as the time is concerned? The past feeling, the present feeling, and the future feelings. We remember our past when we are at the age of 10, 20, 30, 40. Likewise, when it is happening, our track we keep with feelings and the memory. Accordingly, our perceptions become mature. So our mind take the feelings and the perception as the residues, precipitation. And this is what usually I call as myself. And feelings and perception become the crux, become the pith. But unless otherwise they are manifested, you don't know you are with quite what kind of feeling and what kind of a perception. So this first-hand experience and the judgmental mind and interpretation, everything happened at your consciousness, so therefore your judgment may be partial. That you have to understand. The mistakes in your judgment less in gravity with compared to the materiality. That is why the Buddha says, understand the past, future and the present with the materiality and then apply the same, your own one, not what you read in the book, not what the teacher is telling you, not what your likings and dislikes, nothing, but apply the same mindfulness to the feelings. The past, the Buddha says, always the feelings are regrettable. Future is always exciting. Atitanu dhavanam chittam vikopānupacitam samadhisa paripanto. Whenever the mind associates past, it's always the vikshopa in Pali. That's the regret or inferiority, and your mindfulness will be completely scattered. But the problem, the important thing is, even the mind is the past, even if it is regretting, even the concentration distracted, mindfulness is intact. So that change or that qualitative difference between the mindfulness and the feelings are very, very important. It is not your ability, it is an endowment. It's a birthright. Even mind jumping to the past and worrying about, and your mind is with the tension and the frustration, that very understanding or that very awareness, that with mindfulness, not necessarily an inferior one. So you have to understand the past. And when the mind is projecting to the future, thrills and excitement and all the kind of thing, anagata patikankanam chittam vikkohopānupatitam samadhisa paripanto. The Buddha says three characteristics. It is not in the future, present, but in the future. And the excitement is the thrills and feels. Is the character. And mind is agitated. Just like you take a bowl of water, and if it is clear and calm, by peeping into that you can see your own face. You can see the bottom of the vessel. You can see through. Imagine you put a coloration. Your face will not appear in the natural way. It will appear in a colored way. And hardly you can see the bottom. Likewise, by future excitement that the coloration can happen, then it is not representing the same thing, reflecting the same thing. And the mind is displaced, eccentric. But that all these characteristics you can understand, or rather you can be mindful, you can be aware. So this is very, very hilarious, very, very a radical thing, you never open that window in your door, in your house. So when you try to be mindful on feelings, without prior notice, mind can jump into the past and the future. If you do not know, what happens is you may complain telling that mindfulness is gone, unmindful because mind associate the past or future. But if you are listening carefully, and if you are ready to do this radical reflection, you can understand the present moment feelings and the past moment feelings and the future. They have their own intrinsic personal characteristics. Whenever you are ready to read it, ready to study it, ready to do the feasibility study, you are no more regretting. You understand they as undeniable, verifiable information. You don't have for the moment because so far you have put them into the dustbin, thrown away, thinking something wrong. But invitation is here. With mindfulness you have developed with your corporeality, with your materiality, or in breath and out breath, or your sitting posture, or rising and falling, whatever it may be. Now you are applying to the immaterial thing. Still, immaterial forms have 3 dimensions regarding the time, past, future and the present. You keep the present as the norm, past as extreme, future as extreme, but they have their own characteristics. Past is with the regret and mind is tensed or depressed or disappointed. Future is with the excitement and mind is excited. So you see the difference when compared to the present, and after long time you will understand even the mind is contemplating about the past, it is happening in the present moment. Even you are projecting to the future, it is happening in the present moment. It's a magic. You feel like you are associated with the past and regret and disappointed and unconcentrated, mind is agitated. But to see mind complain thinking it is past, but everything happening in the present moment. So exactly like inside and outside. Whenever thing happen, you may get a pain or feeling within your body. Accordingly, judgmental mind jumping and make you eccentric and start storytelling. It's a good thing, this is a bad thing, this is a boring, and all the kind of thing. And still it is good because you are here and now. But being here, you worry about your child or your parents or your properties or your other kind of thing. It may be external, but you feel hurt. And that makes stories, fabrications, and that take you away from the simplicity, so the humbleness. And stories are very, very dramatic, and your mindfulness is gone, but you can aware. As far as it's outside, endless issues. Even if it is endless issues, you pick your own issue upon which you wish to be worried. You are the person selecting the issue. It is happening in natural selection, according to your likings and dislikes, according to your personality traits, maybe according to your past karmic forces, if you are believing. So likewise, 1001 issues are there. So whenever you become not mindful, you go and select one, and then you are talking, worrying, fabricating upon that. But it is absorbing you so much, you hardly understand there are so much of other issues, but naturally you are magnetized to that particular issue. Who decided it? Whose agenda? If it is going to give so much of worries, will you select it with consciousness and willfully and volitionally? Hardly you will do it. But it is happening. But we are talking here now is that difference you can understand. The worrying about the feeling within your body, and you are worrying or contemplating about the outside issues with feelings. So if you are not a socialized person, not a civilized person, if you are living in the forest as a aboriginal or kind of thing, your situation will be completely different. Once you become civilized, we consider it as our responsibility to have feelings about our dear and near ones. But the simple question the Buddha is asking, by worrying, are you contributing towards the situation or just it's a habitual thing? Or you are sadist. You're happy to talk about bad things, happy to talk about worrying things. So this happens in external and internal difference. So whenever feeling happens, instead of getting succumbed to the feeling, getting carried away by feeling, you can understand. Of course, for that you have to get a distance from that particular feeling. That is what we do with our materiality. When we develop mindfulness on the materiality, on the body, on the breath, you get a kind of a distance, and you scientifically we can observe it. Likewise, to see the feeling, whether internal or external, you must have kind of a distance. That is a liberating kind of thing. But you feel like you are not responsible, or you think that worrying is my prime duty, or I would say many people take as a human right. Worrying is the human right. Worrying about the other people. And that is the way you forget about and neglect about yourself. So therefore this comparison, the internal and external, is very sarcastic. But for that particular person, it is not a joke, it is very serious. But from the mindfulness point of view, from the vipassana point of view, we are always worrying about a buffalo which is not belongs to you, not available. Your worry is always about a buffalo you do not know. So this is, we can put into the internal and external, and gross and subtle also there. Some feelings are excruciating. You can't tolerate even for split second. And there are some other feelings, they indicate I am living. They indicate I am not dead. It indicates I am mindful. So these we consider as a day-to-day run or life continuum. But some of are very, very gross, maybe in the good way or bad way. So feelings is filling our whole day. But there is a range, gross feeling and subtle feeling. After a certain degree, we neglect them. Once they come and hit you, above the tip of the iceberg, that become gross. But the majority of feelings are below the subsurface or submarine area we don't know. We're not talking about. They are not making stories. But when you keep on practicing, and when the subtlety or sensitivity of your mind increases, you find all the time we are in the bottom of an ocean of feelings. When and where it becomes perceivable, that means certain degree, then only it is it becomes a raw material for storytelling. So subtle feelings you can understand, and some animals are very, very sensitive for this very subtle area, so they look at the world completely differently. They can feel before we do it, because they are in the evolution, they are specialized. So likewise, The subtle feelings is a completely different world. So when and where mindfulness becomes very settled and the concentration is continuous, and you are going into very deep layers, and very difficult to have 100% absolute sensitivity, but daily you can see your sensitivity increases. More you develop the sensitivity toward the subtle things, you feel the other person. You can understand the behavior of the other person. You are not so callous. You can feel it because you know your feelings. Not only the gross one, the subtle one. Gross one are the things we express by our physical behavior and the verbal behavior. But the mind is having some sensitivity to the very subtle things. When you are specializing, you can see some people consider it as a nuisance. Whenever you are meditating, you are bound to hear kind of a sound. They call sound of silence. Or bound to feel some sensation in your body. And when you look at infinitum in the sky, you feel something in this nothing. So likewise, these things going to appear in a reductionist way. So some consider it as a nuisance, but you have to understand the gross and subtle difference in the feelings. You can applicable the same thing into the materiality also, and your value judgment, hedonic judgment, some are very pleasurable, some are not pleasurable. And changing from pleasure to unpleasant is quite a magical part. We are completely ignorant at that level. So whenever you try to understand that this is pleasant feeling and this is unpleasant feeling, and if you note them, pleasant, unpleasant, you can find 80% of your time is in grey area, not pleasant, neither pleasant nor pleasure. And that area, you're completely absent, not mindful. And that's the way the matter and antimatter came into being. Antimatter and the dark matter came into being. More and more you specialize on what is available and see to the finest detail of what is available, you can't fulfill the picture. Majority of the time, may not be you are in a meditation center, may not be you are on a cushion, may not be you are in a walking path. But you can see there's a huge gap in between pleasant and unpleasant, gross and subtle. That is always we miss the bus. When the sensitivity increases, you become aware. Sometimes the pleasurable things gives rise to unpleasurable. Unpleasant thing gives rise to pleasant. So your future planning and your proximate factors like your luxuries and utensils and your utility value completely change as far as your likings and disliking towards the pre-feelings is going to change. So it happens very slowly. Don't interfere. Don't try to be smart. Let the mind to understand how this pleasant, unpleasant, pleasurable, not pleasurable, painful, these things are happening, but don't be hard and fast. Let them change, interchange, reciprocal each other, and there you will laugh at yourself. At a time you call it as pain, at a time it becomes a pleasure. And this is how it happens. So if the mind is stereotyped and it's hard and fast, you may fight yourself and you may fight with others also, because you expect them to hard and fast without changing, but feelings are so unbelievable, they are not credible, changing to the what, and you make it a criterion to see the 11 facets. And sometimes feeling you see far away and become very close, immediate. So whenever that happens, it makes a very big difference. And as I tried to mention earlier, more and more you give detailed approach to the feeling, it becomes a subject matter. It is you can work with it, so much so you get a distance from the feelings. And that will represent your relationship with your utensils, your basic needs, and your dear and near ones, people, animals, trees, everything. You can look at them completely from the different viewpoint, so you feel the world is more greener when you become mindful. So within yourself, there's a kind of evolution going to take place. So once you develop that kind of a outlook, or that kind of a awareness, or that kind of mindfulness to the materiality, your mind increase the capacity to accept all data, otherwise you would have thrown away, thinking it is not good. But when and where you go through the materiality and open to the mentality, starting from the feelings, you may see you are more receptive, more open, and sometimes you may think it is possible only in a meditation center, only in a forest, or under a tree, or in a solitude place like this, or only in the sitting and walking meditation. But the mind never makes that kind of boundaries. Only what we do is just infuse, this give a association, give a fresh look, fresh outlook to these things, and let the mind to make use it in all the postures, everywhere you go. But still, we advise the yogis, as far as you are in the forest, as far as you are sitting under a tree or in a solitude place, keep yourself more to the primary object in order to have your fixed pivotal point or benchmark or your comfort zone or your assembly ground, or take it as an object of meditation, so that whenever mind goes astray, you can bring it back and verify, and let the mind to expand according to the new experience and the data you have. So it must happen in the very, very organic way, in a very slow manner. Then it becomes very steadfast, then become very sustainable, then it become gradual growing. So as well as that your activities will not distract others. So therefore we do still slowly, mindfully and silently, and things will unwind, things will appear without any kind of a lacking. We are living in a fully equipped laboratory. All the things are there. There's nothing lacking. So you feel whether you achieved it or not, you are with a certain amount of contentment is there. Only the outlook is changing. So when that happens, at the beginning, you feel like you are doing. You feel like you are adverting the mind. You are avenuing the mind. And more you practice, if you become very skillful, you gradually understand things are happening in an advantageous way, effortlessly, in a speed, in the momentum, in the acceleration, unbelievable. So therefore, the knowledge, book knowledge and listening and kind of thing will be helpful for you to comprehend that kind of thing. And still on top of that, you have to have the inferential knowledge, the rational knowledge to cope up with the direct experience. All the three things must grow together. And growth of these three knowledges, the theory knowledge and the inferential knowledge and the direct touch, is completely a fresh one when compared with this person sitting close by you. So therefore, we share it within our discussions. So we have kind of a group action also. We have a individual action also. So make use all this information as well as the experience you have to let that noble quest, the Arya Pariyesana, to happen uninterrupted. With that remark, I would like to sum up the day's talk. Thank you very much for listening. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.